Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Hello and welcome to another episode of Living the Dream with Curveball. I am your host, Curveball, and today I am joined by a special guest, Raven Glover. She is a former CNN and CBS talk show host. She teaches people how to make money using the power of their voice, and she also received an award from President Barack Obama. Raven, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, I am so excited to be here. I had you on my show, and now we're flipping the script.
Absolutely. Why don't you start off by giving the audience a little bit of background about yourself? Let people know who you are.
Yeah, absolutely, Curtis. Glad to do that. My name is Raven, the talk show maven, Raven Blair Glover, and I used to feel like very much like Casper the Friendly Ghost. When I was 13 years old, I felt like dismissed. I felt like nobody, even cared what I had to say. And because of that, I was very mischievous, always getting in fights in school, always doing whatever I could do to cause attention, any kind of attention, wrong attention, bad attention, just as long as I got attention because I was starving from it. And so, mainly because my mom, they owned a chain of restaurants in Ohio, and they were always working. We had to go straight from school up there to work, and I just could never seem to fit into the in crowd in school or be the popular girl, and I felt left out, dismissed, overlooked, and unheard until I started listening to the radio one day, and it excited me. I love listening to the DJs spin records. I love to listen to the callers call in and request music and ask questions. And so the radio station WJMO wasn't too far from one of my mom's restaurants. So I used to sneak down there and they would show me around. I was a little girl that would come down there that had such interest and such enthusiasm for radio. They actually took the time to hear me out. They took the time to listen to my dreams. They took the time to show me how to use the turntables and talk to me about radio and share their stories. And soon I became the junior DJ up there, and I would work once a month. I would come on after school for about a short 30-minute show, and it was really fun. Long story short, that became my dream. But as most of us, as you know, Curtis, as we grow older, we go through this thing called life happenings. Our dream circle just shrinks and shrinks and shrinks until there's nothing left. And then, we lose hope. Our self-confidence about what we wanted, it dwindled away, and we just give up. And that's what happened to me until 55 years old. My mother was in the hospital, and I lived at the hospital with her in the waiting room because she was in ICU for 3 weeks. And I heard a guy on a phone call one night, on Monday night. I got on a training webinar, and his name was Alex Mendosian, and he taught this course called Tell Us Our Secrets. And I heard him say that there was this real cool thing called podcasting. You didn't need an FCC license. All you needed was a free conference call line. You can invite a guest to join you, and you ask the question, zip it. Ask the next question, zip it. Ask the next question, zip it. And then you could take that audio file and put it on what they call podcasting forums. And they would give you an RSS feed for it, and it would go out all over the world. Everybody would hear it. Thousands of people would hear you. And what caught my attention, the word hear you. I'm like, did he say hear you? Oh, yeah, he did. And he said, all I need was a free conference call and start inviting authors and speakers, because if you interview experts, you in return would become an expert. His exact quote was, the quickest way to become an expert is to interview experts. And by doing this on podcasts, you would become a famous too, just by means of association, and that you could reach out there to Les Brown, Jack Canfield, and all the different people I've been able to interview that I didn't know at that time I could. And you would have a conversation, and the listeners would think, oh my God, she's best friends with them. And all you did was do an interview. But through that, if you hook your wagon to them, you would become an expert. And that was February 6th, 2006. April 23rd, 2006, about 12 or so weeks later, I launched my first show, Women Power from the Kitchen Table, which has gone on to win many, many awards. And I've become a five-time award-winning talk show host, and as you said, even been recognized by the president. So I always tell people I got 99 problems, but being recognized and heard is not one of them anymore.
Well, let's talk about some of the things that you went through to try to get where you needed to get. Who were some of your other mentors, and what are some of the things that you had to do? I know you used to tell me about how you were at conferences and you were trying to get to see your favorite people but couldn't, and you was determined not to get in that situation again. Talk about some of those things and how you got out of those situations.
Yeah, well, one of the things for sure, when I first started, there were challenges. It wasn't easy. Mother was always back and forth in the hospital. She actually lived in the hospital for 6 months. So there were times we didn't even think she was going to make it. And the hardest thing for me to do that I had to learn and the lessons that I had to learn was to actually push past my pain to get to my power, push past all the stuff that was saying, you can't do this, you can't do this, and strengthen my mindset to say, yes, I can. Some of the people I listened to while I lived at the hospital in that waiting room were Les Brown. I remember taking, back then they had cassette players because this was 2006. And I remember taking a cassette player of webinars that I had recorded of Les talking. I remember reading a book called Unstoppable by Cynthia Kersey, where it talked about people, even in their midlife like me, because remember I was 55, how they were jumping out of planes, how they were climbing mountains and breaking records, and that older people were still doing extraordinary things, that it didn't matter about your age, that just like Napoleon Hill was known for saying that if you can conceive it, and believe it, you can achieve it. So I started listening to Napoleon Hill a lot, and unfortunately have been able to interview his grandson, Dr. J.B. Hill, and become friends. And just as a man thinketh, and all kind of things. Any type of book or audio. I really loved audios because I could listen to them. I would fall asleep listening to them, and they kept inspiring me. And I think one of the best lessons I learned is to stay in my heart and not get in my head. Because when I got in my head, things got confusing, overwhelmed, and I started telling myself, you can't do this, you don't know nothing about technology, you don't know how to edit, yeah, and all that stuff. And at first you have to do all these things. So I even tell my clients, as you know, Curtis, to focus on your heart, your gut, and your soul, and just be free to be who you are and let your knowledge roll out, because we all have everything we need inside already within us. Our years of experience, our life lessons that we learn, all that is within us. Sure, we can Google and we can find out more about a particular trade or skill and sharpen our skills. But if we just trust our gut and stay in our heart and speak to our audiences in that way from our heart, gut, and soul, that we can't go wrong, and when in doubt of what your listeners or your clients want, you do a survey and find out what's their biggest challenge, what do they want to hear from you. Another thing that I heard and learned from Alex Mendosian. But there were many challenges. There were even some setbacks, but I really learned to have stick-to-itiveness. I mean, this was in 2006. People think podcasting just started. Podcasting been around since 2004. I got in it from 2006. And I taught myself how to do everything from the hospital. I'm just so glad now I teach hundreds and hundreds of people in the past 15 years all over the world. We've had people that have been hosts and students all the way from Malaysia And so it's just really exciting to see how the times have changed. Everything is virtual now, and podcast is bigger and better than it's ever been.
Well, before we talk about your amazing TV network and the network that you've built, let's talk about your Lifetime Achievement Award from Barack Obama. Tell us about what that is, how you even get something like that, how that made you feel to get that award, and anything else you want us to know about it.
Yeah, of course, how can you not feel honored on that, whether you are a big Barack Obama fan or not? I mean, you got just, receiving that email. I remember my husband and I was in Hawaii visiting my son, and the email came in and I kept ignoring it. To be honest, Curtis, I thought it was a joke. I was like, oh yeah, right. Okay, yeah, I believe this. Who is trying to mess with my head? And then I looked a couple days later and it popped in again. Hey, we really, congratulations. You've been nominated for the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. But President Obama will be leaving the office in January. I think it was January 15th or 16th. And we really need to know, number one, do you accept this nomination? And number two, if you accept the nomination, we need some things from you. They needed a complete bio of showing some years of things that I've done. And, I didn't believe it. Finally, my son noticed a phone number at the bottom of the letter. And so he said, well, since you don't believe it, let's just call. And we called and found out it was true. That was at the end of December. Like I said, we were in Hawaii, and so I talked to them and told them, well, I didn't have that information right now to send. I'd have to go and hunt down some things that they wanted, because they wanted some things from years ago to kind of show a history of me giving and serving and stuff. And we had to get all that together. Luckily, we got it just in time, and I was able months later to walk across the stage in Atlanta along with 50 other people and get my presidential pin and be handed my certificate. I didn't get a chance to see Barack Obama, of course. He had business ambassadors that held these events, but I sure got that certificate. Looking at it right now with his signature on it, and I always keep my presidential pin that they pinned me with close by. And sometimes when I'm feeling low in spirit, whether I'm at the house or whether I'm out, I'll just pin that on me just to remember, hey, you've been recognized by the President of the United States, former President of the United States.
That is a great achievement, and you definitely deserve it. Now, what would somebody have to do to get one of those Lifetime Achievement Awards?
Well, I really don't know. I mean, I was nominated, so I have no idea what, I never, like I said, for me, I didn't even believe it till it was the last minute. So it was a nomination that came in. So that's what the letter, I still have the letter says, you were nominated for this. So I never looked into seeing what anybody had to do or anything like that. By the time I got back from Hawaii to LA, I had a matter of days to get them what they needed to see if I would be accepted. Because remember, I was only nominated at that time. Okay. And then I sent them a one sheet. They sent it back and said, no, ma'am, this is not going to work. This is for the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. We need more than one sheet telling us about you. So I had to go deep, find different things that I did, get letters from different people and stuff. It was a process.
Well, you got it done.
I got it
Congratulations.
done just in the nick of the time. Just in the nick of time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about your amazing network. Let's talk about all that you're doing with your TV network, as well as helping people use their voice to make money. Tell us about that and everything going on with it and how people can connect with it.
Oh yeah, thank you. We've been blessed. I mean, it was not a easy journey, but we went from one podcast that was created that I taught myself at the hospital with to having a network, a podcast and radio network of over 35 hosts, and that we have helped many of them. I would say out of that 35, at least 32 of them never done a show before. We have had a few, 3 or 4 that had their show and they just moved to our network, but most of them never did a show before. and we were able to help them structure their show, create their show, and it's just amazing watching them blossom. And then and we also have Raven International TV Network. So Amazing Women and Men of Power is the podcast network. We're going to launch the internet radio station this month, well, in April. So, sometime within the first couple of weeks in April, we'll launch that. And then we'll be able to take the audios from their podcasts and schedule a time for all the hosts to come on the day and time. And then we launched the Raven International TV network because we become developers for Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. So now we're on Roku and Amazon Fire. We hope to be going on Apple TV later. And so now we can help podcasters and broadcasters take their audio show and show them how they can have that same podcast, a TV series. All they have to do is jump on Zoom or jump on StreamYard, and as they record their audio, record the video too. And our host just upload the files, and my team takes the audios and make sure they're on on Apple, iHeart, Spotify, all the major places, and the video files. We put it on our Raven International Lifestyle, Health, and Wealth TV network, and we actually put it on Roku and Amazon Fire there. And then we also, have a publishing company, so we can help get them written up in books, as well as a marketing side of our business, which can help them get landing pages and all their marketing tools, Facebook ads and stuff. So we're full service now. It's called Raven International Broadcast Media Empire. And last year, during the pandemic, we were able to build two agencies, one for podcasters and broadcasters to help them go from amateur podcasters to professional income, help them start making money with the show. It's called Profitable Podcaster Agency. And the other is Beyond the Interview Agency. That's so that we can turn our free guests into paid clients by offering them marketing, PR, and broadcasting services in our Beyond the Interview Agency. And our agents, they get paid anywhere from 30 to 70% commission, depending on what level that they enrolled into our agency. So we're very excited to bring that into the world. Something different, something unique, and that podcasters can come in with no show, no concept of the show, and end up for one investment having a podcast, a radio show, a TV show, be published in a book, and also be rolled right into an agency where they can start making money right away and learn our monetize your guest system, so they'll be confidently ready to offer media, marketing, and broadcasting items to their guests. And their guests are paying for them anyway, but somewhere they're buying it from somewhere. So when they buy them from our Profitable Podcaster hosts, our hosts are able and agents are able to get paid up to 70% commission. And they're pretty happy about that.
Well, when I was listening to you talk on Clubhouse one evening, you were talking about your interviewing skills because your guests have labeled you the queen of interviewing. So, kind of go over some of those tips for people looking for interview tips and tell us about some of the great famous people that you've interviewed and how you've interviewed them. I know there's a special tactic that you told us that you use. So, talk about
Yeah,
that
thank you
on the
for
show.
bringing it up. Yeah, some of the people I've interviewed have been like Lou Gossett Jr., Oscar winner Lou Gossett Jr., Lindsay Wagner, Chili from TLC, Ernie Hudson, Glenn Morshower, just I could go on and on. Les Brown, Jack Canfield, Brendan Bouchard, Lisa Nichols, tons of people. And remember, I started this show from the hospital. So one of the things I realized quickly within about 6 months of having my show, that it was going to be a long road to success if I didn't do something unique, something different, something that was really going to make me stretch. And I decided that I was going to ask celebrities to be on my show. Now I knew I was new, and A-list celebrities like Beyonce and all of them wasn't going to be on my show. I don't know, back then it was probably somebody other than Beyonce. But so I said, I'm gonna start, and this is one of my techniques I teach. I'm going to ask people that were big in their time, and now they're not doing as much. They don't have as many requests to be on shows, to come on Oprah, to come on the late night things, because they're not doing any movies now. They moved on, they're doing different things. So I made a list of some of my favorites, Jane Kennedy being one of them, and different ones, Fran Drescher and Montel Williams. I made a list, and I just mastered the art of asking. And most people will send an email. I always look for a phone number. I wanted to talk to their publicist, their manager, or even maybe them, because there's power in the voice. A lot of things can be misconstrued in an email. An email doesn't really show your personality as a host, but I knew the one thing I had developed in the years is how to communicate. Maybe it's because as a kid, I was overlooked and wasn't, nobody wanted to pay attention to what I had to say. And I wanted to get that attention so bad, I mastered the art of communication. And I found out along my way, journey of being a talk show host, that the one thing that would make you really stand out in being great, go from good to being a great host, is if you become a better listener than a talker. And so I really learned that. And I think it's my years of sales that helped me tune into that. Because when you're listening more, instead of worried about what's the next question I'm going to ask this guest, or multitasking while you're doing the interview, there will be things that the guest will say that normally you would have missed because you weren't listening. And when you hear those things, those little diamonds that they drop, it's going to lead you into the next follow-up question. And you'll be able to feel your way through the interview and most likely walk away with a testimonial, which I've been able to get from many of them. And so listening is the number one skill. The other skill is, ask really good questions, not long questions, short questions. But if you make them too long, they'll forget. It's okay if you say, I have a two-part question first, like you did, Curtis. Then you'll say what the question is. And I would like to hear it. Also, when you finish that, go into this. But let them know it's a two-part question. But remember, you may be asked what the second part is. Okay, it's not the best thing to do that. Keep your questions nice and tight, and then bring your energy. This is not only a time for your guests to shine, this is a time for you to shine. This is a win-win-win. Your audience is winning because you're bringing best guests, best content. You're winning because you got this amazing guest on, and the guest is winning because you're bringing them on your platform. You're doing a fantabulous job, and they're in the right audience talking to yours. So come with enthusiasm, come with confidence, come speaking in your power, if you have to, I remember right before I interviewed Russell Simmons, they said, we're going to let you have this interview. It's only going to be 9 minutes. 9 minutes. I waited a year for this interview, 9 minutes. And it's going to be at 7 a.m. in the morning. And I was like, oh my goodness, but I got to take what I could get. So I remember getting up early, running around the block, running up and down the stairs and stuff right before he called in. And I never spoke to Russell, only during the interview. They had his assistant tap him into the line. They were like, hey, oh yes, is this Raven? Okay, your interview with Russell Simmons is starting in 1 minute. You won't be able to ask Russell anything after those 9 minutes is over. Stick to the interview, no personal, anything. You couldn't say, well, Russell, can you come back, or any of that. So I had to really rock that interview. I had to get the best out of it. And they agreed to the interview because he was promoting something. So the interview had to be all about what he was promoting. But this was on my careers from the kitchen table show. So I had to find a way to spin it to where we could get what he wanted and they wanted done, but also get about 4 questions at the end. And if you want to hear that, you can go to careersfromthekitchentable.com. It's an old website. I hardly ever go there now, but it's careersfromthekitchentable.com. You'll see Russell Simmons' picture with him on the cap. And you can listen to my very, very short interview and how I was able to take him promoting a comedy fest that they were having to him answering 3 or 4 really short questions, probably more like 2 or 3 questions about people in their home business. But I was able to do it. So you have to be fast on your feet, and you have to make sure you have your guests need to feel like they can trust you. You don't want to go to the dark side of something that happened to them and be so much about numbers that you're okay with being controversial and make them uncomfortable. I mean, there's lots of shows obviously that works, but for me, I always wanted to make them feel comfortable so I can get referrals, and I never wanted to trap anybody in the interview or embarrass anybody.
Absolutely, and you're definitely good at what you do. Why don't you give out the contact information? How do people contact you if they want to get signed up to the agency or if they want to know more about it? How do they contact you?
Yes.
Website, social
Yeah,
media?
you know what? And you can hit me up on Instagram to say hello or ask me any questions. And that's Instagram.com / talk show maven. But if you're one, there's always about 3 or 4 people that's in the audience that really wants to take the next step. They're tired of figuring out, and they really want to work with a mentor. If that's the case, please send me an email on the subject line, say serious, not just curious, because those are the ones that move front of the line. Serious meaning, hey, I need your help. I understand there's going to be some type of investment, and I understand I'm going to have to put some time into what you teach me. That's what I want. That means if you understand that and you have some funds set aside, because there will be an offer at the end, and you've got the time to commit to do the work, because you can give us the funds, but if you can't put in the time for work, you're not going to have success. And I'm all about helping my people have success. So put serious, not just curious. Let me know what you're needing help with, and we'll send you a pre-qualification form along with a link so that you can book on our calendar. But other than that, you can always reach me on Instagram. Just look for Talk Show Maven.
You got any final thoughts before we close it out,
My
sir?
final thought is, isn't this man amazing? I just absolutely love what you're doing and how you help people and how you inspire people, and you don't let anything in the way, no hindrance on any lack of whatever you can't do, you make up for it by just doing it and doing it your best. So I just want to, publicly applaud you. Yes, that's it. Yes, yes, yes. Publicly applaud you, Curtis, for all the great things you do, for representing those people like yourself that are blind and have some disability, by showing them that there's no excuse, that they can do whatever they want, they can live their dream, and in some kind of way, even if it's in consulting capacity or anyway, if they just can conceive it and believe it, they can achieve it. So you are a truly example of a inspiring influencer, and I love you. I'm so glad that you're part of our team as a host, as an agent, and we're just excited to have you on our team and in our talk show host family.
Well, I appreciate you and I appreciate all that you do for our podcasters. Ladies and gentlemen, Raven Glover, thank you so much for joining me today,
You're
Raven.
welcome, and thank you for asking me, and thanks to all your listeners for tuning in. Bye bye now.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.